Welcome back, folks. This is the Lights Ed online video show, and it is brought to you by Keystone Technologies. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com, baby. Light made easy. The Retrofit Kings. What are we talking about today, Greg?
Well, before we're going to look at this is 2019 now that we're launching this. So before we look ahead at 2019, that's going to be a episode coming up. We need to look back at 2018. Sometimes you need to look back in the past and say, what was 2018 all about in lighting? So I've got a few points, and I'm sure you've got some opinions on it, but we'll just go at it. So here's some points I saw. Back in 2018, there's a huge emphasis on the potential of the health effects of lighting. Keyword being potential. Now, you saw that in your market. I saw that in our market. We saw it in everything we did. We had a ton of podcasts on it. And it's still in the same boat that it was when it started back in 2018, where there's potential of it, but it's still unproven.
Quite frankly, I'd like to say this, is that we defended the consumer right here on the Lights Ed online video show and the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. We put a stop to that as soon as we heard it. We brought on the experts. We started with Dr. Mariana Figueroa. We brought on some other people. Some episodes didn't get released because the people that came on were unwilling to allow the episode to be released because they got smashed so badly by us. We brought on Dr. Jennifer Veach, who really, laid it down. So I think that, the story was one of the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast really asking the right questions, Greg, and getting to the facts of that issue. And when it surrounded the health effects of lighting, our episode with, what's his name from that one company, Dr. Jonathan something or other? Can't remember his name. We talked so much about the health effects. Do no harm. That was the theme. Like they came back to us. It all came out that, oh yeah, you can. There's all these great health effects, and you can increase productivity. And we said, well, why don't you do no harm first? And I think that was a major move by us to come back to the industry and say, you know what? Forget about helping people. How about not hurting people? That would be a good start. And I think we changed the conversation, man. I really do, and I'm really proud of us for standing up. Two guys selling light bulbs every day in the trenches, coming back hard, coming back strong, and saying, you know what, I don't buy this. And I think we were right, Greg.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat, and I think it's still there that there's potential somewhere down the line, but until it's proven, that's all it is potential. So why sell on it? Why talk about it if you don't know?
I don't
Right?
even like the word potential. You know why? Because
No.
potential is making people look to something that there is absolutely no proof whatsoever that humans can create a lighting, electric light or artificial light. I know the artificial light word is no longer being used, but can create electric lighting systems that don't hurt people. Like that's the first thing. So we don't know, enough about lighting right yet to really decide whether or not artificial lighting systems are good or bad for people. And then there's the whole question of sunglasses, Greg. If the light outside is so good for us, then why do we slather ourselves with sunscreen and put on sunglasses in one message and then come inside and say, we need to mimic that outdoor light? Why? So you can sell more indoor sunglasses and sunscreen? Like what is it, man? Which one is it going to be? So for me, it's like take off the sunglasses, get out into some natural light, get a little bit of a suntan. Your skin tans for a reason. It's not damaging you. This is my own opinion. It's not medical opinion. Get out into the sun. Spend some time in the natural, the daylight, the beautiful sun. No, let the sun go in your eyes, for Christ's sake. Spend some time outside. Forget about trying to mimic the outdoors, indoors. Just get outside, folks. And then, you know what? Buy a nice economical lighting system from Premier Lighting in Minneapolis. Come on, folks. Like, let's not get crazy here. Anyway, there's that. Boom!
Yeah, so that was one topic that we had a lot of discussion on and probably will continue to. Another one that I saw, at least, is product innovation that wasn't focused on energy efficiency. And what I mean by that is color changing lights, like Kelvin temperature adjusting. So you go from 27 up to 65, relating back to the health portion, and that's why they do it. But I think it's more to it than that. I think they're also doing it because people have different preferences, right? And health aside, you like a certain color, you like to be under a certain color, you have a certain feeling. I guess it does relate some to health. But I think it's a nice innovation that has come out. And I like the idea of being able to do that, because I can't tell you how many times I've done a lighting retrofit where you go into an office and you make everything the same color, and you get 2 people that don't like it, 10 that do, the rest don't care. So that's what happens often. So if you have color changing product and it's easy to manage, do it. Why not? If you have the capability.
Yeah, I mean, tuning was hot, late 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Did it really trickle down to the consumer portion of the business? I don't think so. I think the argument for the complainers is there's always going to be complainers out there. I think that the idea of tuning, if it's something that's marginally price increase, the ability to individually tune fixtures and all this, my anecdotal experience, and I think the anecdotal experience of everyone I know in the lighting business, is it gets set once and forgotten about.
Yep. Typically the case.
I mean, how many apps do you have in your phone? Do you need a lighting app for your office? I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to be a bugbear and piss in the wind in the industry and all this sort of stuff, but for me, I think the ability to give individual users color tuning is, it's kind of like one of those things where it's too much control, like too much choice leads to no choice, right? They've proven that in marketing studies over market. It's like, why even ask people what color light they want? That's your first mistake. That's the first mistake. What I do is I try to match what they have and then get it in there when they're not looking, and then walk out, and hopefully they get their energy savings and their rebate and nobody even notices. But this idea that somehow people want control over the color of the light in their office, I think maybe less than 1% of people actually want that, Greg.
Yeah, I could see that being, but it is something that was, innovative and wasn't focused on energy efficiency.
But you know what I mean?
To some degree.
I think it's useful if I've seen a couple luminaires come down the pipe where you can actually literally on the back of the thing change the color temperature, or you can do it with a little controller if you need. But I think that's the initial point of the project when you do the project. If you were unable to do anything, that problem would go away in a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? I mean,
yeah, I think that's usually the case. Usually when we do a project where there are people complaining, you just tell them to hold off for a couple of weeks and see where they're at, and it goes away. People get used to it. No problem. And the other item is flicker free. That's something we've talked a lot about on our show. And one area where you can actually improve health is flicker free. And I've seen a lot of product coming out, towards the later part of last year that is flicker free rated. And I think that's going to be more and more popular. I know you're big on flicker free.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very glad that I got lucky on the flicker free thing. Is it time for the industry to send out letters for manufacturers to come forward and say, hey, you know what? We're doing a recall. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's legit. I mean, I think there's one thing we do know, that is that we can harm people with lighting systems. I got lucky at, in Ontario, you weren't, most of, what is it, Type A? Type A is ballast compatible?
Yes.
Yeah, so the vast majority of ballast compatible tubes are whatever 30,000 hertz or whatever is well above the flicker range, whereas it's the Type B, which is ballast bypass, where you have these the 60 hertz and the tubes are flickering on and off. And anybody that's seen that through a cell phone or whatever, it's pretty gross to look at, dude.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good innovation that I hope they keep going on. And I don't know if we're at the point of recalling any product, but I think going forward, every manufacturer should at least consider doing it if it is potential, and there is a potential to do it. We know it's capable of doing it, so everybody should at least consider it.
Well, you know what the good news is? You know what the good news is? Yeah, LEDs burn out, so those light bulbs are going to burn out soon. So
replace them.
Yeah, so you just replace them with ones that are flicker free. Might be a good way to roll.
Another one that I started to see, at least from my opinion, was price stabilization up until a couple months ago, when the threat of the tariffs came out. So I think that was a good thing in a way for the market, because the price was decreasing so rapidly that it finally felt like it was flattening out. And I don't know if you saw the same thing, but then the tariffs come along and now it's blew it right back up again.
Well, the tariff issue is not pertinent in Canada, but the what we've seen is there's only I had a price list come across my desk today. I'm not going to say what it was, but it was, let's put it this way. The price of the LED tubes on the list was from a major manufacturer, and was less than the cost of a fluorescent tube. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're clearing out some, obviously clearing out their old stock or whatever, and they want to throw it up to Canada, which happens a lot. But nonetheless, I think we're going to see I think we're going to continue to see reductions in the prices of LEDs to the point where I think an LED tube is going to be about twice the price of a standard fluorescent tube at the wholesale level to distributors. And I think it'll level off there. And I think that's where it'll stay. And you'll see, as we were talking with Randy Reed on the lighting show, I think what you'll see is a stabilization and then consolidation within the industry. And perhaps future gains will come from moving the manufacturing from China to the United States. And that's something that, as a Canadian and yourself, we'd all like to see. And so I think that any future gains, like efficiency gains, are going to come from not having to ship them across the Pacific Ocean. But
you're getting a head start on our next episode. That's looking ahead. Right now we're talking back, but I agree. So
so quiet down, Colgan.
The price stabilization, threat of tariffs are there in 2018.
I think there's still some gains to be had, though. I think there's still some price reductions in the pipeline. As they continue to improve. But I think we're starting to round out at the bottom of this thing. So, yeah.
Okay. And then the other last item I really thought kind of defined the industry in the last year, and it's been the last couple, but as a major push for controls from the lighting industry to people like us that are selling the lighting systems, but we're still in the same boat where it doesn't always make sense. Right now you can see on an energy saving standpoint, from a peace of mind, sure, it's great to know that your lights are going to turn off when someone's not there. But is it always needed? We've talked a lot on our show in the last year about that, and general consensus is not always, but it does make sense in some areas. So why the push for it? What's your opinion on that?
There's just this race in every industry right now. And it's not just lighting, but it's like who can come out and market the latest innovation as fundamentally game changing. And, this was something that in 2012-13 was something that, you felt like, wow, we're really in this. And now I think people are hitting a point where they're exhausted with innovation. They're at a point where they're questioning who the innovation is for. Is the innovation for me, or is it so that you can advertise to me more effectively? Is it making my life better? Is this phone? I mean, you open an app on your new phone. It takes some time. You're like, why is this thing slow? This thing has more power in it than the entire NASA data center in 1985. I mean, how could this thing possibly be slow? And we all know the reason why is because it's doing a bunch of things in the background that are tracking you, and these little things, widgets and cookies and whatever they call them that are in there that are telling other people what you're up to. And I think there's an innovation exhaustion. The innovation is marketing rhetoric a lot of times, and I think people are becoming, it's interesting. We had a conversation in my office the other day about, humans are slow to change. This was the conversation. I said, no, that's wrong. Humans will change extremely quickly if you present them with something that actually is better. And so, for example, the rise of cell phones is a perfect example. We went from, nobody having a smartphone in 2007, except for BlackBerries, which I consider a smartphone, to the whole world, almost 3.5 billion of them are actively used in the world in 2018. That's very quick. So if you present people with a good business case, but I think the reality is how much further do we have to go in this handheld situation, or this light bulb? Does the light bulb give me light? What more can your lighting do for you as a person, as an individual? I don't know. I'm not sure if there's any, and I think the IoT thing in lighting was sold really hard, and I don't think there's much there actually in it for the end user, Greg.
Yeah, the purpose of a light fixture is to provide light to see the task that you have at hand. If it can do other things, sure, we can look at it, but until it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. How about you? Anything? Yeah.
People will massively adopt things very quickly if it makes sense. If the gains are obvious, they will do it. But if the gains are not obvious, then don't wonder why people aren't doing it. With respect to the rest of 2018, it's been a wild ride for me and you, buddy.
It has. A lot of talking to you on the online.
Yeah. And we'd like to thank all the listeners out there for checking out the Light Ted
Yeah.
Online video show. Scott Costa from NAED for knocking on our door and saying, hey, make some episodes for us over here at Light Ted, and of course all you listeners to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, and all of our sponsors, Greg. They've been so generous with us, all the listeners, all the feedback, even the bad stuff. You guys don't know anything about IoT. Okay, we don't, but tell me what you need to know. But I mean, we had a lot of fun.
And tell us.
Yeah, come on the show and tell us, guys. So you can come in anytime you want. We'll record. So thanks you all for listening. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you to the industry for, really embracing us and for allowing a little word from the trenches. So for right now, that's the Light Ted Online video show, brought to you by Keystone Technologies, our number one sponsor from the beginning. Go to KEYSTONETECH.com. That's KeystoneTech.com. Light made easy. The Retrofit Kings.